Greetings, Newhammer, Middle Hammer, and Oldhammer folks alike. I am OldGrumpyWolf, aka Lennon Midnight, and welcome to the Mini Bar Podcast. I'll be serving you up lots of awesome painting nerdiness, talking to other painters from around their web. Tonight at the bar, we have Moe Hammer with us. So thank you for coming on, Moe Hammer.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So whereabouts are you in the world?
I am in Watertown, Connecticut, USA.
Okay. Are you born and raised there, or you just wound up moving there?
Yeah. No, born and raised in Waterbury, moved to Watertown, came back home after school, and so big East Coast guy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm a lifer in Las Vegas. I was born and raised here, and I've been here for 43 years of my life. I don't see myself.
Yes, sometimes, yeah. When you find a home, you know where you got to be.
Okay, so the first question of the show that I ask everybody who comes on, what got you into Warhammer and the whole hobby?
So my older cousins got me into Warhammer, and I remember going over their house when I was a kid, and you'd walk downstairs into their basement, and then all I would see was just shelves and shelves of miniatures, right? And so like you see all these little figurines, and you see how they're all put together, and the bits and pieces and the parts, and it's like, oh, I want to try that, because I've always liked drawing and painting, and that whole thing was just like, oh, my older cousins are doing it, let me give it a try. Yeah. And so like I said, in maybe first grade was the first time I probably painted a model. And then,
nice. You started young.
Oh yeah, I was a kid. Like, this was way too inappropriate for me. Like one of the first miniatures I got was from those cousins, and it was an orc truck with the open hatchback.
Oh, so it was like a Gorka Morka edition almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. And so they got me the box. I opened it, and it was like already painted and built and everything. It's like, here you go. I'm like, oh, I really want to paint one now. It's like, thanks, but like, where's like 2/3 of this hobby? But no, so yeah, that was really fun. I still have that truck. I still have some of the goblins they gave me, and it's just been back and forth, in and out. Life happens. I grow older, get different interests, and just you pick one up and you paint a little better, and it just started when I was really young, and just family influence pretty much.
Now, we were talking about, before the show started, we were talking a little bit about, you massively got, or you started heavily getting into it in 3rd edition?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That's when I got my first box set. That's where, same cousins came over, sprayed them all black, because I wanted to be the Black Templar, because it was just like, oh, that's what the box looks like. That's how I got to paint it. So
the 3rd edition was Black Templars in the box, wasn't it?
Yeah, Black Templars and Dark. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I only paid attention to the Black Templar, and like the Dark Eldar were just like, oh, this is just like great basing material, So like
I completely forgot that set came with the Dark Eldar, didn't it?
Yeah.
Those models back then were so bad.
They were, but like they have like a little quirkiness to them,
Yeah.
Like I painted up some, and I found the old tanks, which look super wonky, but like. Yeah, it was just like that. It was just that pumpkin flair,
Well, I think my biggest issue with the early Dark Eldar was that like the proportions on the models were just so bad.
Yeah, big heads, even bigger.
And the shoulder pads were like whoosh.
Like Lawrence Taylor was an elf, pretty much. Like his shoulder pads on an elf. It was just like out of this world.
Well, that was kind of a funky period for like, I think, Games Workshop and their sculpting, because they were trying to break out of what they were doing in the 90s, and just trying to advance the design aesthetic of all the models and whatnot. But that's when we started getting. I think 3rd edition is when they actually changed the bolters to resemble what they look like now.
Yeah, it was just that transition.
Yeah, so they had the textured handle grip. That thing still drives me nuts. I think it's ugly, but. They started adding all kinds of detail to like the Marine's armor, all the extra splits and little tubes and stuff like that. It's like, there's more for me to paint. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and the bolt guns had like those foldable stocks you can put on them.
Yeah.
And they all monopose combat knives. Yeah, it was. I was just getting in while that was getting phased out.
Did you ever get into any of the second edition stuff? Because I know like when third edition came out, they still had a whole bunch of second edition stuff in third edition.
Yeah, I had some Rhino chassis. I never really messed around with any of the like the assault Terminators and whatnot. Like I had a couple with like lightning claws, but no, not really. I really started painting a lot of lizard men around that time.
Okay.
So like I had a lot of Temple Guard. I love dinosaurs, so it's like, oh, lizards with Triceratops heads equals I need to paint that. You know? And like I wasn't priming anything, I was just throwing paint on and just like real awful expensive way to occupy a kid. But I'm forever grateful for it. But no, it was a great outlet for me. And yeah, so I started playing sports here and there, and then you know, all this stuff would kind of go away and come back throughout time, and yeah, it would always make its way back.
It seems like a lot of people, like it's a common theme when I talk to them. Like even I'm part of this. Is like a lot of people have expressed like, oh yeah, when I started out, geez, it was terrible. I was just dunking it in the paint. What was I thinking?
Yeah. It's like they have all the painting guides, and you're like, I don't want, like for me, I was like, I don't want to read these. I just want to look at the artwork. Like,
for younger listeners that are listening, this is back before we had YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. You had picture books.
Yeah, we are that ancient. We actually existed in a time before YouTube existed. Now it's like you just search anything you want for painting guide on YouTube and you get to see exactly how it's done. Back then it was like we had pictures that were like this big in White Dwarf and painting guides, and it's like I don't get that.
Yeah, and you couldn't text on a phone with a full board. You had only numbers. Yep, first phone. I could rifle off.
Hey man, but you do know like the two things that will survive like a nuclear holocaust will be Twinkies and Nokia brick phones.
I have it. I got it.
Well, and the funny thing is there's a meme going around for Nokia brick phones. It says the Nokia brick phone case, it wasn't to protect the phone, it was to protect the floor.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So moving on to question 2. Did you get into the hobby because of gaming or painting?
Oh, painting for sure.
Okay.
Painting for sure. And I mean, again, like you go through, you talk about that third edition rule book, like the artwork on the front of that was just like.
That was John Blanche, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it's just, it was incredible. I mean, it's a true illustration, and you go through that more and more, and then you look at the detail with the borders and the heraldry. It's, I don't know. Like I said, I always loved to draw, and I was just infatuated with that precision and that detail. And when you look at like that older Marine when it was rounded before the bolters had that big change, it's like you got detail on something that was so flat. Yeah. And that's not knocking the sculpts, but it's just like, you can put that on something and represent it well. So like, yeah, for me, seeing it all together, and then like, you got this huge landscape of the battlefields. It was immersive, Yeah. But yeah, seeing that old artwork was just, it made me feel good.
I remember like when I got my copies of Adeptus Titanicus and Space Marine. Like I've been an artist all my life. I used to love to draw. I don't really draw much anymore, but drawing, painting, everything associated with it. And then, I got these rule books, and just seeing the artwork that was in them, plus the painted miniatures, just, my little 11, 12-year-old brain was, just completely blown away. And I didn't understand any of the rules, but I liked reading the little stories they had in the rule books for like, about the Marines and all the different artwork. I think Blanche was part of Games Workshop back then, but I think that, like, especially for people who are artistic, that's, I think what really draws us in is like the mixture of seeing the miniatures plus all the fantastic artwork, seeing this, this world that they sculpted just in the rule books alone, never mind the codexes or anything else they published, or White Dwarf. It's just, I think it really draws people like us in, and I mean, it seems like no matter what edition you get into, like if it's your first time seeing this stuff, you're just like, holy crap, this is great.
Yeah, it came out of somebody's head, you know?
Yeah.
And but had the ability to put it on paper and execute it well. So, yeah, and then taking it from paper and making it into a tangible item.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want with is, yeah, it's I don't know, it's the rawest form of creation, you know? You've literally brought it into life.
Yeah. No, like I mean, comparative to now, like the old, you know, the stuff we got into, maybe you're more closer to what we have now, but like Road Trader and second edition, I mean, seeing those little guys in person for the first time, I saw them in the Adeptus Titanicus book, but actually holding them in my hands for the first time and like putting my first RTB01 together and painting it, and it looked like crap, but it was just such a cool experience. And it's like, I'm actually holding these little guys from these illustrations in my hand. This is so cool. Like there was nothing like it. I still, even to this day, I don't think there is anything like it. No, there's really not. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but it's a real incredible jump of time. Yeah,
you know?
Very much so.
Yeah, that OG stuff is it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. It was like interesting when third edition came around because so many things really started to change to get away from, I don't know, like Rogue Trader in second edition. It was almost like toy soldier look versus. I don't like really kind of like war aesthetic, like real sci-fi gritty aesthetic. But I mean, the 90s brought us a lot of really cool sci-fi stuff. So Starship Troopers is a good one. I mean, those are the original Tyranids. But no, it seems like a lot of the Games Workshop artists really started pulling from, you know, a lot of the sci-fi that came out in the 90s to start adding this more realistic grit than, I don't know, like the 70s and 80s cheese grit that, you know, we thought was silly because we were young at the time. You know, Star Wars.
Yeah, but stuff like that, like that still has a good flavor to it. You know what I mean? Like seeing some of the sculpts that Wheezy Hammer, who was on the first episode.
Warheezy.
Yeah, Warheezy. Yeah, I mean, like again. That was a little before me, but seeing those sculpts and just like the poses and like how dynamic things are now with like a foot on a rock.
Hey, it's a tactical rock.
Tactical rock, yeah. But I mean, just to see the progression to that tacticalness is interesting. But yeah, just seeing how they were able to put it all together just to fit it in a mold, you know, like that was really neat to me.
It was third edition that the Tau came out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was talking to my gal about it because I'm painting that Tau bust and she really likes it, and I'll probably get yelled at for this, but honestly at the time, and I think you know this too, it was like Games Workshop had to introduce anime to 40K somehow, so that's how we got the Tau, because I mean they're totally Gundam mecha stuff.
Yeah, and like building them was relatively easy too, like just with the battle suits and whatnot. But I mean, they were, you know, still all pretty square, regimented. But like, you know, once you get into that artwork of that codex in that time, you just see how much more dynamic these things can be. Yeah. And what I really, you know, I wasn't trained enough, or like, you know, I wasn't bold enough to like, you know, really break things apart and kind of kit bash them to get it to the dynamic of what some of the miniatures are now. Well, I mean, like even the Tau, like they actually have fingers now, you know, and you can do a little bit more with the arms besides sticking them at 90 degrees. But yeah, just seeing that is a real treat too.
Oh wait, you mentioned kit bashing. Wait until you see the episode that I did last night. With a buddy of mine here in town. He is the kit bashing god for Space Wolves. Like his Space Wolves are every single one in his army he does something custom to.
Yeah, a lot of furs.
Furs, shields, tankards, teeth, wolf pelts, everything. I mean, he goes bananas with it.
Yeah. Hey man, you find that one thing that you're good at, stick with it.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to build. I don't want to paint. I just want to build. I'm like, oh dude, but you're really good at painting too.
Yeah.
He's like, no,
Yeah,
my jam is building.
yeah, I got a cousin that's better that likes building more than he does painting, but it yeah, like the hobby has so many factions to it. It's
Yeah.
just it's all inclusive.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. No, it still blows me away that like you don't have to be into the gaming side. You don't have to be in the painting side. There's just such a vast pool of like what you can dive into. I mean, like the black library and the lore, it's friggin' huge now. And you got Space Marine 2, you got Space Marine 1, you have the back catalog of Games Workshop video games. Most of them are crap. But you don't. I mean, to even enjoy the hobby, you don't have to game or paint. You can just do the lore thing. You can do the artwork thing. You can just get into, like even Henry Cavill's new TV show coming out. I think a lot of people are looking forward to, or just even playing Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
It's amazing how Games Workshop has like expanded this entire thing to just really include everyone.
For sure, like especially with their animated series that they pop out every once in a while.
Oh, do that. You saw it was the CG animated one with Titus in it?
Yep, I saw that.
Dude,
that
that was cool. I think the
really
biggest
neat
thing that got me about it was they actually got the movement of the Space Marines right. They weren't big and clunky. No, they were big and clunky, but they moved insanely fast.
Have you seen the Angels of Death on Warhammer TV?
Oh, dude, I love that show. I love that series. It looks so good.
There's a bunch of people that I'm like, just watch these couple clips on YouTube, and like they're blown away. They're like, yo, you play that? I'm like, yeah. And it goes like this, here to here. You roll dice. Like that's all in my head all the time.
Yeah. No, I got I got a Warhammer TV subscription I think like a year ago and started diving through their stuff. And yeah, the Angels of Death thing was the first thing I watched, and I was like, the animation, the lips the mouths didn't always sync up, but I mean from a distance it didn't matter, but just the design choices in the show, like keeping everything black, white, and red.
Yeah.
That was just cool. I mean that's actually what hooked me.
Yeah. But I mean, like when you talk about the whole company has different aspects to it. Like I met somebody at work that used to be into the game, but he still follows all the lore. And him and his brother and myself were talking, and they look at me. They're like, "Yeah, Reese, you've been in the hobby for a while. Like, Yarick died. How do you think Gazgul is going to feel about that?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, they actually answered that. Gazgul is like a lot of the orc war bosses and stuff. They're pretty pissed off.
Yeah, they're like, "What do you think he's going to do, Reese?" I'm like, I was honest with them. I'm like, I haven't followed, but like he's probably gonna wog. Like, what do you want? But
my second episode coming out on Tuesday, the guest I was talking to, he was talking about like it plays into this, like where there was this story he found about this more intelligent orc starting to like having a what is that thing when you question all the stuff about your life?
Oh, you have a existential crisis.
Yeah, this orc's having an existential crisis about DACA, and I was with what you're saying with old Baelai dying. It's like, oh, Gazgul's gonna have an existential crisis about DACA now. It's like, I ain't got me number one, Umi I want to kill. Now I've got what am I gonna do? What? DACA just don't fill me with DACA anymore. What's the point of DACA when I don't have me number one enemy?
Yeah, what's it gonna do with all these teeth now? It's just stuff like that.
Did you see the episode on Warhammer TV? It's part of that ongoing series where like the runt herder is telling the two orc boys about old Baelai. I thought that was actually great. My gal watched it. She loves the orcs, and she's like, "This is so cool. They actually talk."
Yeah, it's like everything's sentient in that universe. It's cool. But
I hope with the Henry Cavill show that they actually like make it a series, like an ongoing storyline, because I think the one thing about Games Workshop media right now that bugs me with like all the animations and stuff they're putting out, they're just one shots. Yeah,
because I know for a little, like I was a big Black Templar person and still am. Like the Hell's Reach video on YouTube, fantastic. So like even if you carry a story from like start to finish and then like you do a new one,
Yeah.
excuse me, that would be kind of something neat. So like you're saying, like if they got to see everything through, but I mean if one season can just be like that whole novel,
Yeah.
like that would be interesting.
Well, my best friend that I grew up painting with, like him and I have been like we're on this bandwagon of like Games Workshop needs to do like just a series, a complete series about the Horus Heresy. It's like you already wrote the books, make a whole series because you know I want to see Gavi.
Gabriel Loken.
Yeah, Loken. There we go. I want to see Loken. I want to root for my boy. I really like Loken's character a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know, 3 weeks. No, probably like Christmas. I got the audiobook. The first one. I just started the third.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
you're on. I don't have them out here. They're in my bedroom. You're on when they go to Istvan 5.
Yeah. Yep. I just got to there. Yep.
Yeah, and you're gonna hate it because Games Workshop. Well, no, you're just doing the audiobooks. I like physical books, so I'm ticked off that Games Workshop doesn't keep the entire series in print. And
they don't.
Yeah, if you want to find you find the books, you have to go on Amazon or something, and they're like between $60 to $300 a book.
At what point? At what book does that start?
After book 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last bit of the Storm of Terra, or the Siege of Terra, the end of the Horus Heresy. I think all of those are still in print, but everything from book 4 up until Siege of Terra, nope, no longer in print. So like Scalper is just gonna scalp.
All right, then I guess I gotta
So just you can get the audiobooks for them.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, enough nerding out about books. I could go on for hours because I loved Loken's character and I really liked what they did, and I think Games Workshop needs to do a television show specifically for Horus Heresy because it's like you have the whole thing mapped out, just do it. But
but like that introduced you to exactly where you were at,
Yeah. So with going into the next question, since you're a painter and like you and I for viewers of the show and listeners, I met Moe Hammer through Olden Demon last year, and I've been keeping track of him and what he does, and I really like his miniatures, and he did his 2 miniatures at the end were absolutely excellent. So this is definitely a good question for him. Is what kind of paints do you use? Like what brands and all that stuff?
So when I did Olden Demon last year, I'm pretty exclusive with just Citadel paints.
Okay.
I know some people have some issues with formulas. I mean, I think my biggest issue with the Citadel paints that I have is I don't upkeep them well enough. You're
talking about the bottles?
Yeah, the pop cap ones.
Yeah. Switch those bad boys over to droppers, and you'll love life.
And I also started to invert the cap too, just to clean out that rim of paint as well. And it keeps it. But I mean, I have paints on my shelf that are I got this old like 72 paint set probably in like 2008 that Citadel came out with. It was in an old GW gray case.
Oh, you've actually got the 3rd edition paints.
Yeah, I got the big extreme one. Yeah, and so I've been still using some of those.
Are they the black flip tops?
Yeah, black flip tops for the.
So I'll flat out tell you right now, if you want those paints again, Pro Acryl.
Pro Acryl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because so like with that, the 3rd edition paints. Or the 3rd generation paints, I was actually talking to my guest about that last night. The 3rd generation paints, Citadel tried to go matte with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the color pigmentation isn't what we have now. The closest they had back then was the foundation paints, but which are now called base paints. But yeah, if you want like a almost a perfect match for that formulation with a lot more pigmentation, Pro Acryl.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. I wrote that down, so I definitely gonna keep that in the loop.
And but the colors I will recommend you buy: titanium white, and pyro red, and bright ivory. Try those 3 first.
All right. Yeah, I'll give them a whirl.
Okay.
But
so you started out with Citadel paints.
Yeah, I started out with Citadel paints. I kept true on that. Recently, I got a couple. I got the one metallic of plate armor from Two Thin Coats.
Okay.
I really like that. I got a.
Their paints, by the way, their paints love water.
Yeah. So I've been really messing around with that, and I like that formula. But AK, I just got too. I got a little treasure pack of that.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm really liking it. I like the yellow. I like their white. I started messing around with some contrasts here and there just for Citadel. I know they do a speed paint for like Vallejo, and there's another one. I think Army Painter.
Army Painter does the speed paints. I don't know if Vallejo's doing contrast style paints.
They don't do them anymore, or maybe it's just
I know they have washes, but I don't know if they've gone the route of actually doing the speed paint / contrast style paint.
Okay, then yeah. So yeah, I mean Citadel's contrast I like. I'm cool with that. But I've been doing a lot of rusts, and I got this pack of liquid pigments.
Ooh.
That's the company that makes this rust kit. And they're just like they're washes. So like what I do is I take my pretty beat up brushes and I just like tab them on as I go, and I just build up those colors. And you know I really like it because like with my orcs, what I'll do is I'll paint them every color I want, and then I'll just go back in with rust and like just flake all the paint off. You know,
those pigment paints, like, will they reactivate if you get water on them?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, so they're actually inks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was the oddest transition for me with I use like I use Citadel's contrast paints. I prefer the contrast paints versus the shade paints because you can water down the contrast paints to the opacity that you want, whereas the shade paint is just so thin. But with modern shade or with modern contrast / shade and speed paints, they won't reactivate anymore because I think they use the same like medium that the traditional paints use. And I'd gotten so used to using Citadel's old inks that I was used to being able to kind of like reactivate them to blend. Yeah. And getting back into painting again, I'm like, why don't these reactivate anymore? And it's because there's actual acrylic medium in them now, as opposed to just being an ink wash.
Okay. Now, have you ever messed around with glazes?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about like bottled glazes or actually glazing method?
Like bottled glazes.
I had some old Citadel glazes when I was a kid, but I didn't understand what that was back then. But glazing, like bottled glazes, you can actually just do that with regular colors. Yeah. So it's just meant to be a real. It's like the shade paints that Games Workshop makes, like Known Oil. That's technically a glaze.
Oh, okay.
It's just meant like glazes are just really thinned out pigment. So that way you're not meant to lay down a lot of color with it. You're meant to just add a dash of the color itself to help like create blends. And when you get more advanced with them, you can actually do like you can do glazing or you can do wet blending. And so they're kind of the same thing.
So glazing is almost like painting with a watercolor in a sense. Yeah,
almost. Yeah, that's actually a good analogy for that.
Yeah, because I've always seen the glazed bottles, and I'm like, I'm not going to look up the video when I get home. like, I'm not going to do it.
Who's glazes from who?
I think it was like Citadel.
Oh, okay. But yeah, did you check out my Blood Angels tutorial video?
I have not. No.
Okay, so like the way that I actually highlight my Blood Angels and the way that I even do my Space Wolves, I'll have a video for that soon. The way I work the colors up is actually it's a method of glazing. It's just really thin coats built up on top of one another to create like a gradient effect.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I follow that along.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like once initially it's gonna be a little weird because most people have a hard time wrapping their brains around the idea of glazing, but like a lot of the more advanced methods in painting come from basically glazing, like getting really thin coats of color. You can shade up or you can shade down. Like the gal that I got the term Grimbright from, I was getting frustrated working on a miniature. I was talking to her about it. She's like, have you actually tried shading down? I was like, I feel like a dumbass. It's never popped into my head. I'm going to try that. And I started working downward in glazes as opposed to upward. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, so down, you're saying like getting darker.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
say you're going from like, where the kneecap is on like a Mark 7 armor, like you have,
Yep.
and then the shin guard. So like toward the bottom of the leg plate, mix in, let's say you're using, because I know the colors, let's say you're using Pro Acryl Pyro Red.
Yep.
AK works excellent for this. Take a little bit of AK black and mix it in with the Pyro Red, get it really thin and watered down, and just apply it around the shape of the leg plate and let it dry. And like as you apply it, get smaller and smaller and smaller. So like mid leg plate is like a single tint, like half a shade lower, and then by the bottom you have like a full shade lower, and you just keep going. You apply the glazes just in thinner coats.
Yeah. So you're working from your highlight down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can do the same thing going upwards with highlights.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. Yeah, I don't think I've ever worked darker. I think I've always worked lighter.
It's interesting working darker. I'll tell you that right now. It's a different approach. It feels wrong, but once you see the results, you're like, oh, okay, that works. I like that. That totally works.
So in your first episode with Warheezy, he was talking about how, like he loves to work on black, right?
Uh-huh.
And then when he base coats everything, he'll base coat it in, like, let's say he's painting an ultramarine, and he'll start with a really, really dark blue, and he'll work his way up. And like he was talking about where your light is hitting, and he's like, yeah, I'll leave areas like under arms that just like don't get touched at all. So like I'm thinking, I'm listening, I'm learning about it, I'm thinking about it, and like I painted an orc boy, and I'm like, all right, let me just like try it and hear it. So doing that, it's just like, Reese, you've been painting for a real long time, and like you've just been like abusing like common like art practices, But for me, I like at 30 years old at my age, I'll wake up 2-3 hours early from work, go down, pet the dog, get a coffee, come up, and then I'll just paint.
Yeah.
So like it's just how I start my day. Like I think about things, I'll make a couple notes, and like I went to art school, so I'm fluent in digital illustration, watercolors, oils, acrylics, gouache. But it's just like it's like, well, Reese, you want to just like kind of zone out and just paint a little bit, or do you want to really like tune in and like understand where the light's coming from, and what's your color theory behind this all?
Well, my thought on this situation or the matter is like, yeah, you're kind of meant to have an overhead light source. That's the way the light's shining from the battlefield did it.
Yeah.
I don't always follow that. I try to follow it sometimes, but you're making something, you want it to be fun to look at.
Oh, for sure.
So, you kind of like you kind of develop your own style. You kind of develop your own thing for making this little guy. You want the ridges of his armor to stand out. That's not how it's going to look in real life. But you want all the ridges of the armor to stand out, like an orc skin. You want their big old biceps. You want those bright greens, so you look at them. These guys, they're tanked, and so you have to take like artistic liberty with it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and like that's what I really like about each and every miniature. You know what I mean? Like you can start with like a blank canvas that's like a white piece of paper, and then put whatever you want on it, and you can get lost in so many different directions. And then you can go to a miniature and be like, that's a kneecap. It's already there. What color you want to make it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I like it like,
the one big conversation that we got into last night, and I'll tell, like, it's a good piece of advice, is you're doing this for yourself. There is no wrong way of doing things.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy.
Oh, for sure.
You don't have to. You don't have to follow the Games Workshop painting guide verbatim. Like scripture or anything like that. No, you're painting it for you, and there's no right way to do it. There's like the analogy I used last night is like in Photoshop. There's like 8 to 10 ways of doing everything. Every single thing in that program, you can do it 8-10 different ways. It's always been that way. So it's the same thing with painting. Just there's no right way to do it. There's your way of doing it, and whatever makes you happy. If somebody comes up to you and says, that's not the right way to do it, and it's like,
thanks.
Okay, no, that's your way of doing it. If you want to show me how you do it, yeah, I might be able to work some of that into my workflow. But your way is not the right way. My way is not the right way. It's just the ways that work for us.
Yeah, it's just like how you read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I like, I'll bring it up later in the Instagram portion, but like your Eldar that you did for Olden Demon, that thing was excellent. I really liked it. I liked your use of browns. I liked your use of the camouflage. I liked your use of like the yellows. The model turned out great.
Yeah, thank you. No,
and when I was creating the title card for this, the preview card for YouTube, I used your dark elf chick, I think.
Yeah,
she's got the severed head.
Yeah, the witch.
And I mean that turned out awesomely.
Dude, and that whole skin tone on the witch, like that's where I tried to like wet blend everything in.
Yeah.
And like I don't the sad part is like between both of those models, I got like partway through I finished one, I got partway through another, and I look at my desk and I look up and I'm like, there's 5 unopened brushes that I got for these projects. Like they're brand new brushes, and I'm like, I'm going through and like I gotta sand off like the chick's bicep or her forearm, and I'm like, I'm getting clumps. Like, what am I doing? And I think this was the time where you and I were talking about the dry palette or wet palette. And then I'm looking, and I'm like, I got stuff in my brush, and I got brand new brushes right there. So I was just like, whatever. But no, those were labors of love for sure.
Oh, I've got a couple of brushes that like. You just kind of, you find like a couple of good, like the thing I'll say about, I use a lot of Citadel brushes, and the thing I'll say about the brushes is like 6 out of the 10 you buy, what they used to be called detail brushes, they're called small layer brushes now. 6 out of the 10 small layer brushes you buy will be usable. You'll always have the 4 that they just don't work. But
yeah, why? Because they just fall apart.
No, they're formed wrong. The tips don't want to work right and stuff like that. But you kind of get into a groove with the brushes you have, and you don't want to get rid of them because you get used to them. And I'll use brushes until I got like 4 hairs left, and then finally chuck them.
Oh, for sure. So when I initially started painting, I learned how to paint at a game store called the Rat's Nest. And this guy Keith taught me how to paint. So I would get like dropped off at the store. My mom would go to Walmart, shop for a little while, and then pick me back up. And then we painted all of my orcs, and it was all dry brushing. So it's just like, start dark, go to the goblin green, and then you go to I think it was scorpion green. So it's like, okay, those are your 3. Yep. And then like I'll go in, paint jeans, and do whatever. But for me, anytime I had like a beat up brush, it just turned into like, okay, that's another dry brush.
Yeah, and I'm like, you get certain brushes to the point where they're haggard. Yeah, you retire them to either being dry brushes or base coating brushes.
Yeah, and like at that point, that they're just like relics in my rack. I'm like, oh yeah, that one served me well, But yeah, no, it's all fun. It's all fun. It's for nobody else but me. You know what I mean? And you know what? It looks great from 3 feet away when it's on table. So what's crazier than that? Because I mean, I went to Warhammer World, I think 3-4 years ago. And yeah, you walk in there, and I'm like, I don't deserve to be on a podcast. Like, yeah.
So silly question: did you go to Bugman's?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you try any of their custom beers that they have?
I probably tried like 1 or 2. I think there was just like a general lager that I down, but nothing. Like nothing green or blue or whatever. But no, I was pretty general. But yeah, no, that was a fun time. But yeah, looking at that stuff like that you saw in a book for decades, and then you can see it, inches away from your face. It was really neat to see. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so you mentioned that you use you like to use Citadel paints, Vallejo, and AK. Is there one of the 3 that you mentioned? Is there one particular brand that you like over the other? I'm
the most familiar with Citadel.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at there. But I do really like the AK right now.
Okay.
I like controlling it out of the bottle, and like you said before, best thing to do is just transfer everything into the shaker bottle. For me, as long as I could shake my old colors up right, then I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not too picky on that. But like that $30 bottle shaker that you can sit on your desk, it's pretty clutch.
I can't use one of those. Like I buy the Army painter dropper bottles, and they already have 2 mixing balls in each one. And I'll pour so it's the same size. The dropper bottle's the same size as a Citadel bottle. So I'll pour most of the Citadel bottle in and actually just drop in a bunch of water to fill the rest of it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So like for me, what I'll do is like, I'll hit it on the mixer, and then one of my biggest pet peeves right now is it's like a bad habit. I mix with really good brushes, So like the best brush I'm using at the time, I'll mix with it too, because I'll have my eyelet dropper. I'll put some water on the palette, and I'll go scoop it out with that brush, which is silly, and then like I'll kind of go back and forth. So like the brush will get way more use than just applying paint. Yeah. But like, yeah, I think
you're doing the old school method where you pull it out of the lip and put it on your palette.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I always used to do with the first, second, and third gen paints from Citadel.
Yeah. But that's why I like the dropper bottles, because it's just like I'm saving more of my time on the brushes. But past 3 or 5 years since I started my account, I started washing my brushes with the soap, and that helps a lot, because like I said before, I'll abuse brushes just because I'm just like, I'll just try to be like a mad scientist and like move fast and get things down and not think and just throw it all over the place. But no, I do like AK a lot. I'm really comfortable with the Citadel contrast paints, and that the liquid pigments for the rust. I like that a lot. But some brushes I'm using right now, I got from Michaels. It's a Princeton. It was cool with me. I tried it. I liked it. And yeah, as long as I don't scoop them out of the lids, then they'll last me a while. I
just got into using or trying out some of AK's and Pro Acryl synthetic brushes.
Okay.
And they're interesting. I'll give them that. I'm used to sable brushes. So like there's one brush, I think it's one of the AK brushes I bought, and I've been using it for about 90% of the work on those busts that I've been painting, and it's a really nice brush. Like for a synthetic fiber, they don't quite hold as much liquid. Like if you bring water from, like I work on a dry palette, so I bring water to my palette and mix it in. And if you're trying to like saturate the brush with the paint or the water, the synthetic brushes don't seem to quite hold as much liquid as sables do.
Yeah, because it's just like constantly wicking off because it's like artificial.
Yeah, but I will give it credit in that like the bristles themselves are actually really soft.
Yeah.
I was really surprised after I got into working with it. I was like surprised at how well they spread out and how soft of a line they'll make when you fully spread it.
Awesome.
So I say like for a challenge, I say pick up one of the AK synthetics or one of the Pro Acryl synthetics.
Yeah.
And see like where you can bring it into your workflow. It's actually really neat.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a whirl. Now, do you think see, I was talking to another person that I play Warhammer with, and he got started with painting model tanks and airplanes and whatnot. Do you think you become a better miniature painter by painting different things? Like you had
very much yes.
The toad on your Instagram story. You just showed the bust. How do you think that compares to actually painting a GW figure compared to like the toad or the bust?
It just gets you away from. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. I'm trying to sell my business right now. No, it breaks you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it shows you that there's more things than just 28 millimeter to 32 millimeter scale miniatures. Like that Tau bust that I showed you. Dude, that like when I sat down and started painting him, I was like, good Lord, this thing is huge.
Yeah. There's
like so much room to work on this thing. But it just gives you a better perspective of what. It gives you a better perspective of what's out there. And you can actually try, like painting a bust, there's the methods that you're going to use on painting a bust are going to be a little bit different than what you would use to paint a Space Marine.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it's always good to, it's like as an artist in any medium, it doesn't matter, music, miniature painting, building cars, trying something new helps to broaden your horizons.
Yeah. So your biggest thing is kind of forces you out of your comfort zone and it allows you to learn different techniques. Well,
the thing, like I say this every episode and I'll reiterate it, is like, as an artist, doesn't matter what medium you're working in, your worst pieces are always your best pieces because they teach you the most about what you're doing. You pick out everything you don't like about your worst piece. You'll sit there and study it relentlessly to find things you don't like. Mm-hmm. So that way you get it drilled into your brain is, I don't want to make this mistake. I don't want to make this mistake. I don't want to make this mistake. Your best pieces are always your worst pieces.
Yeah.
All right. It's actually, your best pieces are the worst ones for you because you've hit a plateau, you've peaked at your current skill level, and you need to figure out a way to get off that plateau. Okay. So bringing in new paints, bringing in, for let's just say for miniature painting, bringing in new paints, bringing in new colors, new types of brushes, different kinds of models. Say you just only paint Space Marines. Go try an Eldar, go try an Orc, go try a Tau, or go try a Bust. For sure.
Like for me, the way I cleanse my palette, and figuratively, because I pretty much have a full Citadel palette, I work on different sides of the color wheel. So like for a long time, I'll do a bunch of Black Templar, and then I'll look at it and be like, I need just a lot of bright, I need a lot of warm, and I'll go after my my pink Tyranids.
Yeah, and then, you're actually describing exactly what you asked me.
Yeah. So, but I'm more caught in the like a GW like figure rather than just like colors,
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I just got to change my colors all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what would help me the most is getting a different figure, like different brand, different concept. Like a bust, something like that, I think would be like
you've seen. That's what I look forward. The Blood Angels I've been posting lately. Like I've got 3 more Beakies on my desk that I need to work on. But I figured out something about myself as I get into a comfort zone where it's like, okay, I've got my processes worked out for how I'm going to do my Blood Angels.
Yeah,
and it just becomes really easy. I get a lot faster at it. And I swear I'm not gloating. It's just like once you get your process figured out, you actually, okay, how can I make this faster?
Oh yeah, no, I hear you.
But I after those 3 Blood Angels, I was like, no, I got to go paint something else because I'm getting too comfortable.
Yeah, you need a different flavor in your mouth.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like I'm kind of tired of staring at red. I'm getting comfy with it. That's all I kind of want to do. No, I'm gonna go do a Space Wolf and I'm gonna go do a Bust.
Yeah. And your Space Wolves kill it, man.
Oh, thank you.
I love the grays on the armors.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nostalgic. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I'll have a tutorial video about that eventually. My gal's out of town right now for 10 days. She's visiting her daughter in Spain who's studying abroad. And so like this 10 days, I'm like, okay, I got to cram as much stuff as I can into what I'm doing right now. It's not that like I'm complaining that she eats up my time or anything, but it's like, nope, she's gone. I got to get stuff done.
Yeah, I got Grumpy Wolf time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we don't live together right now. So, I mean, she lives like 5 minutes from me, but it's just the weekends usually dedicated to her. So I don't get a whole lot of painting done over the weekends. Usually my most productive days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mm-hmm. And right now it's like, okay, I need to do that video. I've got to finish my Olden Demon entry. I got to finish these 2 busts for War Room. I got to do 4 episodes of my podcast. She ain't here. Let's do it. Let's pass time because I missed the hell out of her.
Awesome.
So
hell yeah.
But going back into the questions again. With your painting style, who influenced your painting style?
Ooh, pretty much I guess you would say just the 3rd edition codexes. Like whoever painted them. Like I'm not a big names person, which I should be, but no, I just like seeing it, and it's just mainly I would say the guy Keith from the Rat's Nest, because I started with dry brushing, and that was always like my foundation of like, okay, put your darkest colors down, build up to your lighter colors. You can only get lighter. It's easier to get lighter. It's harder to get darker. You know what I mean? So like he would probably be the person that I would probably look up to the most, because that's who taught me how to paint. And yeah, so probably just him. That's the only person I can name. But yeah, you look at all the old codexes, and you just see how things were highlighted, and I don't know. It's like a study afterpiece, you know? Because like, will I ever be on a golden demon level? Probably not. No, unless I quit my job and did it for 6 months straight. Maybe.
Dude, I'll flat out tell you right now, like, I love painting. I've spent 30 years doing it, but the amount of time that a lot of those guys who like take first, second, third, or Slayer swords spend on their minis, I would lose my mind.
Yeah,
when I did my Ulrich Slayer, he took me a month to paint, and by the time I was done, I was like, I don't ever want to see this model again.
Yeah,
and I've heard Zumakito, episode 2 of my show.
Yeah,
I had to remember his name. I actually looked him up. So Zumakito was talking about how long he spent on his entry. I think he was up around like 800 hours.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And to me, like, I know my painting, and just like everyone else I talk to and anybody who sticks with the hobby, your painting will get better the more you do it.
Oh, for sure.
But am I ever going to push myself to be that level? Do I ever want to push myself to be that level? No. I want to have fun with my painting. That does not sound fun to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think what's cool about, painting different miniatures, like just the ones I do, whether it be like I go from like an orc to a space marine to a Tyranid, is that if I do anything like really good, it'll be one thing for like every miniature, so like I'll put everything together, and I'll get it all base coated, and I'll do all my different colors, but like each and every like piece, there's got to be like one like cherry that I'm always gonna be okay at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So look at it and be like, yeah, okay, it's not like a competition piece, but like that one spot right there, I learned a lot from, and like that I'll carry into something else. But it's just the time dedication thing. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of attention.
Yeah. I think like the most important thing for me, it doesn't matter what I paint, is that like everything that I paint, like every piece always teaches me something new.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And if you're not learning something new with each thing that you do, you really need to take a hard look at what you're doing, because challenging yourself is actually what helps you grow as an artist.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like my old graphic design teacher said, he said, the day you think you know it all is the day you're going to go back to school.
Yep.
I was like, okay.
That's the day you need to challenge yourself and get yourself off that plateau.
For sure.
So actually, I just came up with a new question. And because you and I competed in Olden Demon, I think this is actually very appropriate. This is actually a good question, and it leads into what we were talking about, is how do you think events like Olden Demon have impacted your own painting?
Oh, it's a challenge. Like, it gives you something to I mean, look, I'm a competitive person. Like I played rugby in college. I played high school sports. So like I always like to win. I always like to do well. I always like being active. But, to be able to have a how would I put this? To be able to have a competition that's I feel like is a little more enticing to somebody that just does this as a hobby. I think it's great. Like, could I compete on like a local level? Sure. Like worldly? No. Like I'm no Olympian when it comes to
I got a taste of that through LVO, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like I look at my stuff, and like my friends are like, "Oh, it's really good. Like you're the best." I'm like, "Thanks." Like I'm not. But no, stuff like that, and you take on a project and you look in the miniature, be like, okay, let's do one. But yeah, I think it's great for the level of painting that like I'm at. You know what I mean? And like then it challenges you to be like, okay, now you have a deadline, so
Yeah.
it's like you're doing an art project or like you're getting commissioned or freelancing or something, which I'm all used to that. But yeah, it's good because like it gives me the opportunity to compete when I know I'm not like that stellar of a painter.
Do you think that it helps actually grow your technique?
Yeah, and it does it for a couple different ways. One, because I could see what other people do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it introduced us to talk about just how we use our physical palettes.
Uh-huh.
It shows me like what you said before. There's not one right way to do things.
Yeah.
So to look at somebody's work in progress photos, to see exactly how they do things, or whether somebody's working up with their gradients or down with their gradients,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, now you're just kind of flipping the art piece upside down and be like, okay, now try to draw it. But it allows me to see more and more miniatures and different painting styles,
Mm-hmm.
and like different tools that they use. Like the airbrush, it will take a lot of practice, but I'm not dedicated to that yet.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable just still hitting my palette and digging them out with the brush and on the lips, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to a competition like that, that's where I know I'm like, okay, you can't mix it with the detail brush. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do those things. So it's it wakes me up a little bit more. So like it's kind of like, okay, now see if your counts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be able to like see things through the community and just have that challenge and that competitive spirit, I think it's good.
And I'm assuming that with you entering, you feel that it helps you grow.
Oh yeah, like the orc boss that I did now.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said before, I saw somebody on Instagram base coat it in their yellow with pink and then go over it with yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm gonna try it. So I started with my pink horror pink, and then I worked up to the brighter pink.
Okay.
And with a dry brush, and then I just I contrasted it with a Citadel yellow,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I'm like, you know what, that'll be good for right now, and just let's see what I can get.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, if you get too competitive, then you're gonna, let yourself down. So like for me this year, just with what I have going on, it's just give it a whirl and see what you come out with. Like if it's cool, great. If it's not, it's a hobby.
And I'm guessing that like after you tried this method, like you walked away thinking like that was actually cool that I tried something new.
Oh yeah, it certainly is. I just looked at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like really worked. So like now I just gotta, apply it to different things. You know what I mean? And like I look at it, I'm like, well, I could have prepped the model better, but I could have done these things a little better. So it's just like, from that point on, it's like, okay, I know that method works. Now just execute it to a higher standard.
Well, and actually, one thing we were talking about on the break, what you just mentioned is like, I think that's actually really cool that you literally just said like, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. You actually walked away from what you did. Like, okay, now I can actually, I want to try this going down the line.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Since you have, actually, hang on. The next question is like, I started incorporating this, and I think it's actually really good to ask is, what advice would you give novice painters just starting out to help them avoid the pitfalls that you've experienced?
Don't spend a lot of money. Because I mean, like that's like, in all honesty, that could be like the most discouraging thing. It's like you put hundreds of dollars into something, and then you just look at it and you're like, I don't have fun doing this.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, try to work your way in at like the least amount of money you can. Like if any of my friends that want to give it a whirl, I give pieces away that I'll never use, like the 3rd edition Tau, or like the newer 3rd edition Space Marines. That's stuff I'm never gonna use. I'm like, you know what? Try these first. Like if you really like it, do that. Like I had a buddy that I used to play rugby with, and Space Marine 2 came out, and he's just like, "Hey man, like I want to try this." I'm like, "Sure. Like what do you need?" He goes, "Where do I start?" I'm like, "Well, like with the least expensive stuff you can." Because like you don't need like a Windsor Castle brush. You don't need any of that. It's just try it first. Like my grandmother, like she would make food, and I wouldn't like it when I was a kid. She goes, "Well, just try a little bit. Try a little bit." So like that's all you need to do. But try not to spend a lot of money. Yeah, because you don't know if you like it, right? 2, thin your paints, and 3, just explore. But 2.5 to 3 is definitely prime them first.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure. But,
well, the funny thing was that Frog Pope, I didn't prime him.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I started painting him at the show. And I just ended up working through him completely without priming him, and I rubbed a little bit of paint off here and there, but I just ended up painting over it. But yeah, I didn't end up priming. Yeah, I will agree with you. Definitely prime your models.
So with resin, do you have to wash it before you?
Usually, most people will handle that beforehand. I didn't run into any problems. The 2 busts that I have, I think they were washed beforehand as well.
Okay.
I'm no expert on resin models. I've only done, I think these are my Saturnine armor Blood Angel that I did was my first resin model. The Frog Pope was the second one, and then the third and the fourth are the 2 busts I'm doing.
Okay.
And I think on the Tau bust, I think I did rub him down with alcohol, but the Psyker bust, I just straight out primed him. I'm like, screw it, and all the primer stuck. So I'm just like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, right. So it's just like now you're at a little science experiment at the same time.
But definitely, I agree with you. Definitely prime your models. And actually, there was one thing I wanted to touch on that you just said. You talked about watering down your paints as number 2. I was talking to my guest last night about this. It seems like that step isn't talked about nearly enough or mentioned as heavily as it should be. I've watched some Games Workshop painting tutorials and stuff. I vaguely remember them working on a wet palette, but like Duncan Rhodes, he goes heavily into like make sure you mix in water, make sure you do water. Yeah. And Duncan is an excellent example of a good painting tutorial, but I think like a lot of people starting out, they get into the Games Workshop ecosphere or ecosystem of products, paints, painting tutorials, and it seems like I don't see, like I haven't noticed GW talking a lot about like make sure you water this down, like water it down, like whoa, like 4 parts water to 1 part paint. Whereas Duncan's like, yeah, you want 3 parts water to 1 part paint. You want to mix it up on your wet palette, and then you want to add more water.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I was actually when I was in Nottingham, I was talking to a couple of guys at the GW store, not at the Warhammer World, but one of their local spots.
You know how I know we're old? Because we still don't call them GW stores. Yeah,
for sure. But and the guys were talking about Duncan Rhodes and when he would present the painting classes, and what they were telling me was when they had Duncan, I don't want to say perform, but guide the classes. Duncan would have to like reverse engineer the recipes to be in GW's palette.
Oh, most of the little secret is like a lot of the heavy metal painters, they ain't using Citadel.
Everything. Yeah, they use everything. Yep. And like it was years ago when I found that out, I felt so lied to. but I mean, when you're selling that product and brand, and like again, it's a beautiful palette of colors that they have. Like that's kind of what you have to do. I don't.
Oh, dude, the sheer diversity of their colors now is nuts.
I love it. It's great.
I mean, I think it really does boil down to. I was talking to my guest last night about this. Like with what Army Painter and Citadel are doing, and even Too Thin Coats with the Triad system. or the stepping system. That I think that makes painting a lot more accessible and understandable to people who, don't understand the art side completely, who don't understand mixing colors. So it's a very good introduction of like, okay, you want to paint your Ultramarines. Here's like the 4 colors you'll need for the armor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to mix anything. You start with this, you go to this, you go to this, and you end with this.
Yeah.
And it's a very good introduction to painting versus like you're from third edition Warhammer. I'm from Rogue Trader / second edition. We didn't have any of that back then.
Yeah.
No, you mixed your colors. You took blood red and you added fiery orange to it to highlight it Blood Angels with.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that's missing is, like you said, it's not emphasized that you have to thin your paints down.
Yeah.
And that's hard. But I think for novice painters, try to learn how to do that. And if you're uncomfortable with trying to be really fine and precise, do dry brush.
Yeah.
It's not down and dirty, but like you start to understand what the model is.
Yeah. And also like the whole Zenithal thing too.
Exactly. So like there's going to be 100 things that you're going to miss on it, Like you're just like, oh, there's a bullet and like that orc has extra teeth on it. So like, why didn't I get that? But dry brushing is huge. And like that guy Keith that taught me how to paint, because I was trying to paint something really fine and my hand was shaking. He's like, oh, you just exhale. And as you exhale, you just paint. Just
yeah.
I was a kid.
One thing I learned in video, and like the one thing I learned in college from video was when you're holding your camera, just take a breath and hold it, and your body will slow down and your hand will stop shaking.
Yeah. So it's all relative.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is.
Yeah. Basically, you want to be as relaxed as possible.
Yeah. Like it's pretty much.
Okay. So hang on a minute. Recording. Okay, so this is actually a good one for you because you started around the same range as I did. You got into this thing in third edition. So my question is, how do you think that the old Games Workshop miniatures compare to the new ones?
I think the old one, I think both of them have their own specific characteristics, but I like the old ones because they have a bit of character to them.
Okay.
Like, I know Warheezy was talking about how like the faces were a little wonky on some of them, and like the poses were a little squished, but like that they had a style to them, And like if I look at an old pewter Space Marine, right? That's all one piece. One lens could just be a little more skewed than the other, and I think like that gives a lot of emotion to the physical piece.
Yeah.
So like little things like that are kind of like really something that I just really like.
Well, yeah,
like
back then they were all hand carved versus now they're all done in 3D.
Yeah, so like Trish Calden, Monster Girl Trish, she used to make a lot of the sculpts for Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy. Yeah. Like the jungle swarms for lizard men, like. Each and every one. She
did like almost all the dragon models from Oldhammer.
Yeah. Did she did the water trolls? I think.
Yeah.
The river trolls. Yeah, but I mean the river hag that they re-released, like that was hers too. But just like there's a lot of spirit in those old models. You know what I mean? And like. That's something I really appreciate. Like just the faces on the lizards and the jungle swarms. It's just like that one has a little attitude, and like that one's a little shy. Like these are all like characters, Yeah. It's not. It's like a 50-point unit. Like no, you killed the lizard in there. You killed the one with the spikes. That one's gonna get you.
Yeah.
Like you miss an attack roll or something. He's like yeah. That little blue guy, that was him you missed. Like, and you knew.
One thing I will say is, like, commenting on what you're saying is, like, it's back then, like in Rogue Trader, or even kind of in second edition, there was a lot of humor in the models.
Oh, for sure, and there was some humor.
It's actually it's really nice to see in modern times Games Workshop kind of getting back to that humor with like the biggest one is the Red Gobo for Christmas.
Yeah,
like it's just so nice to see them bringing humor back to. Like when I got back into this stuff, I thought like a lot of the 40K stuff was just so dry and void of emotion. And with Games Workshop doing the Goth Rocker model again, the Red Gobo every year, how silly their Orc Boys are. They've even done some kind of like silly Marines. They've thrown some jokes in if you know where to look. It's nice to see them getting back to that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a bit of a homage, and like it's a bit of individual flair on a big company IP. You know what I mean? So with the new models, I mean, I think they look great. I think they're really using every bit of technology that they have.
Yeah.
Me personally, I do like stuff that's a little more posable. You know. Like,
yeah, I mentioned that last night on my show. I really do like how dynamic and emotive the new models are. They put a lot. They tend to put a lot of thought into what they're doing. But the thing that frustrates me about modern Hammer stuff is that everyone has the same army. Like, unless you start like really converting or kit bashing stuff, everyone has the same minis because you can't pose them anymore.
Yeah, that and like the weapon options.
Yeah,
like,
with us growing up, like for me the RTB01s, even some of the second edition models. You go into the third edition forward up until I think like the last 5 years. You know, you had the legs separate, you had the torso separate, you had the arms separate, you had the weapons separate. So you could really do the customization thing with not only Space Marines, but like the Orcs, the Eldar, the Tau, Tyranids, kind of Tyranids. But you just had the whole ability to customize without having to cut your stuff up.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, with Orcs, you can cut anything up. Like, that's the best part, and you still can. Like that's what I like the most. But yeah, Oldhammer, it's got a lot of character, a lot of spirit, and a lot of emotion in the pieces. And in today, they're really maximizing the technology and the art form.
Yeah.
You know, like it's progressed significantly, and you know. I think the biggest problem is like, you know, with new models, you have to create something that has never been seen before.
Yeah,
and that's really difficult. Like, try to make something new right now. Well, it's hard, you know, but it takes a lot of patience and a lot of exploring. You know,
I think in some ways, like it's nice to see the experimentation.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't always hit the nail on the head, but there's definitely a lot of experimentation with what, you know, like, just in my head, I just love Space Marines. So like seeing what they've done with the standard, I think, Intercessor Primaris box.
Yep.
Where like you've got the guy chucking the grenade, and the grenade's actually out of his hand, but the smoke from the grenade is actually what connects the grenade to the actual hand.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's a very innovative idea. I know like the big thing was the update to the Eldar models, and seeing resculpts of stuff from second edition that I grew up with coming back out. It's neat to see these recreate or updates to old models that were, you know, done by I forgot their names, the twins, Ali Morrison, stuff like that. Just seeing what modern Games Workshop sculptors are doing with these models, like updating these old models, and they're. I mentioned last night, there was a post about bolters on like the different the different names of the bolters, and how like there was a guy asking about second edition bolters, like what bolter is this, and it's nowhere on the bolter list, but they have the Rogue Trader / 30K bolter, and then every other issue that they did, and I was commenting to I think it was. Yeah, I got in a conversation. I know I got in a conversation about social media about it, but it's nice to see the 30K bolters actually being perfect, updated representations of the old Beaky bolters, the RTB01 bolters and the Rogue Trader bolters. Like, it's the same bolter, they've just cleaned it up and actually made it better.
For sure. And like you talk about the things that or the sculpts that don't hit the nail on the head. This guy Tinker Hatfield, he used to design Jordans. He came out with a quote that said, if people don't either love or hate what you make, then what did you really do? You know? So like if they came out with a model and they're just like, that just sucks. And some people are like, I really like it. If you're triggering that emotional response, then you did your job.
Well,
Fortunately,
since you grew up in almost the same time era as I did, you know who Typo Negative is?
No.
Typo Negative's a goth rock band from the 90s. They got pretty big, but inside of one of their CD sleeves, on the back of the sleeve, it said, there was a quote from it, said, "Functionless art is simply tolerated vandalism." But they added their own humor to it. It says, "Functionless art is simply tolerated vandalism. We are the vandals."
Yeah, for sure. I like that a lot.
But that's one mantra that I've always kept through, like, my artwork going through college, doing art classes and stuff like that. There was a girl, she said, "Oh, why does your art always look so creepy looking?" I'm like, to evoke some kind of emotion, because functionless art is simply tolerated vandalism. And she's like, huh? I'm like, yeah, you don't get it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, your vase of flowers is really deep. Oh man.
Your live, laugh, love sign is I mean, that's like, man, that makes me want to write a novel.
Don't you love design?
Yeah, I've been a designer like most of my career. I was a graphic designer doing usually working as like an art director or a lead designer in departments, and some of the stuff that I got sent or had to print or had to fix, it's just like, you actually got paid to do this? Good Lord.
Yeah, I freelanced a little bit when I got out of school, and I've been pretty fortunate with the type of clients I've had, and what I was able to sell and make and talk them into doing, just through, warning them, like, that's not going to look good.
Yeah.
But no, I'm fortunate with it. I like it. It's good, but yeah, no, it's some people have a different taste, and
well, the thing that I got into doing is, like, the few times that I actually got to talk to the designer of the artwork that I had to fix or make work, I'd always offer them advice. Hey, I see what you're trying, but, like, you might want to try it like this, or you might actually want to, instead of doing this in InDesign, you might want to do it in Photoshop, because you're attempting something for like a wall wrap or a vehicle wrap in a piece of software that's really not made for it. Try setting it up in Photoshop. If you ever have any questions, here's my number. You are welcome to call me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a completely different, like, you're using the wrong tool.
Yeah. But no, I found that, like, uplifting people, encouraging them really, really does help.
Oh, yeah, I would agree to that too. But yeah, I mean, like, for me, it's just, these are the problems you might see with, going down that path. And,
so moving into the
I was just talking with, no, I was just saying, like, I was just talking with clients. I never had to really interact with, like, different artists.
Yeah.
In that freelance career.
So like, just to move this along, moving to the next question, because you are from almost the same generation as I am with miniatures. What do you think about grim bright versus grim dark painting?
Oh, I think they're both so much fun.
Okay.
I think this guy Maximine Corby, something like that. He's in a Black Templar Facebook group that I'm in. He did some really great stuff with grim dark, and the guy Work Easy on your first episode, incredible bright stuff. I mean, I have no preference. I just like to see them both. I'm kind of split between, but no, I think they're both great. Like, even the new models with the bright colors on it, I think it's awesome. It's a nice relationship between the two of them. It's like, these are the ideas that they had, in the 80s and 90s, and, like, use that palette with today's technology. I think that's really neat.
I've found in, like, my own venturings that like, a lot of younger dudes, like Newhammer kids, they actually really don't like grim bright.
No,
they're like, why does it look like a cartoon?
Because it can.
Because this is what it used to look like. Oh, it
Yeah.
never looked like that. Oh, yeah, go back like 25, 30 years ago, long before you were born. Yeah, this is what it used to look like, and there was reasons behind it. It mainly had to do with printing.
Yeah. But no, I have no preference. I like the bright. I like the dark. It's
Okay.
yeah. It's either or. I'm cool with both of them. I think they
Okay.
both look good together. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump into your Instagram feed from here because there's quite a few models I want to talk to you about. So I need to actually bring up my interact window. There we go. One thing the first thing I do want to bring up is I know this isn't the finished. Oh yes, you have. Okay, so I wanted to bring up your Olden Demon entries. So well, she's first. Let's talk about her.
Yeah. That was the first one that I did. For the pair. I probably started with all the metallics, and the metallics. Then I did some skin. Then I went with different parts of the model. So like, I think what I did was
Well, hold on. First off, did you start with a white base coat or a black base coat?
probably white.
Okay.
I bet you I did white, and I think I did maybe like an Ashanti bone after the primer.
Okay.
So some sort of like light beige. But yeah, a lot of what I did went from those beiges to a skin tone of like Rackhearth flesh.
Okay.
And then maybe with some Agrax Earthshade.
Oh, by the way, I love that color.
Yeah, no, it's
like the
sweet.
closest thing I can find to their old brown wash.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do like that brown wash too. I still have a pot of chestnut ink still up here.
Oh, I hate you.
Yeah, no, it's
I would love to get my hands on chestnut wash again.
yeah. I got about a quarter of it left, so maybe for next year's Olden Demon.
So
But,
you basically started with a base coat of like Ushabti brown.
Yeah,
Or
so I
Ashanti
started I started in there, and then I started to work towards the armor a little bit because I didn't know exactly what the colors wanted to be and where, just because I wasn't bringing up all my highlights quite yet. So like if you go back to the other one,
What, the first picture?
oh no, you can go to the second one. I know a lot of what happened in the year before. People really liked the reflection of the green or the base in the whatchamacallits, in the metallic parts. I think I just got a reflection, probably not done on purpose. I think it was just from the photography. But I really wanted to try to mess around with like the different parts of the sword. So like that's why I had that real hard black line between like the face of the sword and like try to get the sharp edge. So like I was just trying to mess around with a couple of transitions to see like what I can kind of build up, because I wasn't brave enough to do non-metallic metallics at that time. But I wanted to do the black. I wanted to do some purple and yellow are contrasting colors, and no, it took a real long time to work on the skin, and a lot of that had to do with maybe having a dirty palette, because like I said, there were portions of that got pretty clumpy, and I had to take I had to sand out some of the forearms because I was just getting bumps on it that I wasn't happy with. But the gold, that's all metallic golds, whether it's Balthazar gold or something. I can't remember, but I do like to use snakebite leather, the contrasts, and kind of have that all dive in.
Okay.
Gold.
And I think your Eldar is in here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were showing me him as you were working on him. I really like this model a lot. I like I really dug the camo pattern you put on his jacket. And you got the good solid green going on. Like the green is obviously the theme of the model, but I like how you've got the brownish color on the weapons, and then you got the yellow for his mask, and then you've got just a nice solid blue helmet with the yellow chevrons.
Yeah, there was a piece of artwork. I don't know where I should have brought it up, but there was a piece of GW artwork from the 90s that had Rangers in a tree, and they had a similar overcoat on, and I think it was a Yanadin one, so they would have the yellow hats, I think.
Okay.
But no, I like I think that's Altic is what they are. I don't know, but no, that is Yanadin.
Yeah, this guy turned out really good for as we were talking, I think you actually went back and redid a few things because you weren't happy with it.
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. I think I started to mess around with the tiger stripes on the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started to mess around with maybe the barrel of the gun, and I think a lot of it was maybe some of the highlights on the coat too. And this one, what I really learned about this was like you look at the bottom of the trench coat in the front of the miniature, mm-hmm. is like how bright those two little corners are.
Yeah.
So like me, like throughout a lot of the stuff I've painted is that I was never really able to get super bright on those raised edges or those highest edges.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if I have like 5 or 6 reds to oranges in front of me, it's just like, remember, Reese, if you really want to make this pop, you skip a couple more pots and then use that one.
Yeah.
And we work our way back. So like for me, that was all about like, okay, try to really make that one scream. Mm-hmm. And then I had all the pieces of flock, and the yellow really helped me out, and that was a cute little flower I threw in there.
Yeah. No, I was really when you sent me the final picture of him, I thought he was just an excellent miniature. I'm a sucker for like the way you did the greens. Like I'm really big on like working up from like, for us old mm-hmm. folks, the old colors, from like going from like dark angel green to goblin green all the way up to what you call scorpion green, which used to be called bilious green.
Yeah, I think that green that I used there was a frog green by AK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's a great color.
It's fun. But I mean, like, that's how many orcs later that I painted this guy. But yeah, a lot of orcs helped me with that one.
Yeah, orc skin definitely teaches you like a good method for painting greens.
Yeah,
how to get really dynamic with them.
Yeah, it's a good it's a good level to grow up.
Good buddy of mine. I'm going to bring him on the show. I'm just waiting for him to get more photography on his Instagram. But like him and I toured together in the band days and stuff. But he's really big into orcs. And I gave
mm-hmm.
him a couple of challenges. I'm like, RJ, dude, you got to go up your base coat, go darker, go way darker.
Yeah.
And he's actually started, he's going in gradual stages, but he's actually starting to like learn how to start with a really dark base coat of his green and then work up to a really bright green. And he's doing an amazing job. And he's like, dude, this is a great idea. This is teaching me so much. I'm like, yeah, that's why I've been pushing you to do it, dude. When you learn how to start with that really dark, in our old days, dark angel green or orc flesh green, and work up through like a mid green to a really bright green, you get a really good idea of how to blend your colors together and just give it really dynamic shading.
Yeah,
you
sure.
nailed it. You hit nail on the head with this guy with like the dark green in the recesses, the good mid-tone, almost goblin green, and then your really bright, almost striking scorpion green.
I bet you, yeah, I still got a pot of that goblin green. I bet you that some of that made its way on there.
If you need more, Two Thin Coats makes it now.
Okay.
It's called Goblinoid Green.
Yeah, I heard that in the in Warhammer Easy or whatever his name is.
Warheezy.
Yeah, Warheezy, for sure. But yeah,
I snagged a bottle of it from Two Thin Coats when I was at LVO. They let me have a bottle, and I've been using the piss out of it. I love it. I'm like, I need to go down to my local and just buy like the entire rack.
Yeah, for sure. But,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you really need 27 bottles of paint? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
How dare you question me?
Sure. Like, do we make this in a gallon? I hope.
Come home, my gals be like, where are you?
Yeah.
Buying a gallon of Goblin Green.
I got the milk and I got the green milk. The what?
Since like because of last night's episode, I'm totally hinged on this. Like, do you have any? If I'll bring this one up, screw it. Yeah. You're Logan Grimnar, dude. This is amazingly good.
Yeah, that was for a friend, and I was.
You must really like that person.
Yeah. So they gave me the task of doing it, and I'm like, okay, Reese, if you do this for people, you can get paid to do it. Like, how much how long will this take, But like, don't hurt yourself, but track it. So I don't have my notes with me, but I bet you that piece took almost 40 or 50 hours. And a lot of that was, splitting it apart, painting it piece by piece. It was kind of nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like the wolves I wet blended together.
Okay.
And I found some tutorial on YouTube, and I have a dog right now, so like in art school they tell you you gotta have a reference,
Yeah.
So like I'm sitting down and I see my dog laying down, so like I'm rubbing her ears and her belly, and I'm kind of like lifting her leg up to like what does your fur do to get to like your belly to your back,
And she's laying there like, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's just like I'm inspecting you. Like that's so like yeah, those guys took a couple hours each, but like the white one I went from I think an AK. I think I got it all like either like a light gray or beige or a white. I think I started with, and then I went from snakebite leather to skeleton horde to apothecary white, and that's from the top of the spine down.
Okay.
And then a lot of that for me was just like looking up like what does a white Arctic wolf look like.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is just like, okay, what does it do down the bicep? What does it do down like that back hamstring? So yeah, from there it was just like, okay, I got these like base colors in, and then kind of just dry brush it, and I was just able to touch up all those highest points of the fur. And then like with that darker wolf, surprisingly, if like a wolf is dark, it actually has a lighter belly, so it was the same thing. And then even the snout, so like I went from like what the hell is that color, Karak stone or something. It went from a Baden black to snakebite leather to skeleton horde onto the Karak stone.
Yeah.
So that was just all wet blended and just doing it as fast as I could, and keeping my palette wet and just throwing more water here and there, and
you're literally describing exactly what I did for the Layman Rust that I did for the glow up challenge.
Yeah,
like the two wolves I did for him, reference pictures, and then exactly what you're saying, like just like get the washes on there, and then just you do your darkest wash, and then you go like pop open another bottle while it's still wet, blend down to the next wash, and just wet blend the whole thing the whole way down.
Yeah, I had all three bottles open at the same time, so like I was super cautious. I was like, if one of these bottles goes, man, then we're gonna have a lot of problems. So yeah, that was thin ice for sure.
Yeah, and with me painting Logan Grimnar, the original one for Old and Demon this year, like I look at all you guys who have painted the new ones, and I'm just so jealous because like the original metal Logan Grimnar, I don't know who was on vacation that weekend that model was being sculpted, but good Lord, is it sloppy.
Yeah.
But the new one, it's like it's almost like they took the original metal one and just like really picked it apart. Like, okay, why doesn't this work? Why does he look dumb? And then fixed everything. And also with all the modern updated sculpting, like his detail level is just, it's like such perfection.
Yeah. And, I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between, pewter models and plastic models is hair. I think that's one of the hardest things to paint on a pewter model is like, each individual strand of hair. Like this one was I don't want to say a breeze, but I'm doing the War Boss right now for those tassels, and it's just it's a little more difficult than that. You know what I mean? So I couldn't. Yeah. How's the hair on the metal model for you?
The hair on him is fine. The wolf pelts back in those days, they suck.
No shit.
Like I figured out like how Games Workshop carved wolf pelt back then, because I've done back in the 2000s I did some conversions of my own wolf pelt stuff, so I know exactly how they carved it. And I appreciate, like after painting that Ulrich Slayer that I did, I've really come to appreciate how I know it's not hyper realistic or super realistic in modern times, but I really appreciate the way that they sculpt fur now on models. It's so much easier to paint.
Yeah, the fur on these were a breeze.
Yeah.
But again, it was fast stuff because, like you and I were talking about before, if you touch the contrast paint too soon, like you're gonna pick it off and you're gonna get
the skin.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as I got it all wet, it's just like I had to like put it on a hanger and just be like, all right, see you tomorrow.
And one big thing I really do appreciate about the modern Logan Grimnar is I like how they made it so you can take him off the sled and he's his own model.
Yeah, and like that's what I wanted to do for my buddy as well. And just a quick little magnet, and you can run them two ways.
Yep. Now, like just silly thing, like in the game, when you field him, can you field him just by himself?
I think you can field him off of the rider. Yeah.
No, what the paint job you did on this guy, like when I was scrolling through the photos, like your contrast work on a lot of this is actually really, really impressive. Like especially in the metallics, and what got me was what you did here with what you can't see my mouse pointer. I keep forgetting that. What you did with the top of the axe head, that looks phenomenal.
Yeah. So like those new brushes that I didn't use for the Olden Demon, I used for that. I bet you that axe probably took about 5 or 6 hours, just the blade alone.
Yeah.
I think further down on my feet I have just the blades. But
now is that a mix of like layer paints and contrast paints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I think what I did was I did it all in like Flesh Terror's red contrast.
Okay.
Then I went through and I inked all the recesses, and then I built up anywhere from that Flesh Terrors to an Evil Sun Scarlet, to a Wild Rider Red, to a Troll Slayer Orange, to probably this Fire Dragon Breath.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of wet blending. Like
like all the dedication you put into that it looks amazing. Like just the overall piece, everything together looks insanely good.
Thank you. Like that, it took a minute, but it was I needed to do something like trophy worthy for this person.
All the work you did on the base is actually really impressive as well, with the snow effects, and then like the actual plastic pieces coming up to link the wolves to the base and his chariot to the base.
Yeah, so the snow, that's battlefield snow.
Okay.
And I mixed PVA glue, or the Elmer's white glue. Threw that in there with some water, mixed it up, and then kind of just like spread the paste around. And depending on what your mixture was, it would kind of pit a little bit, So like when snow is melting, because you get so much over there, you'll kind of like get these little holes in the snow because it'll, I don't know, just kind of like drips in itself. So like some of those spots look real like soft and smooth, but others will get a little pitted because it's like dirty, or it's like getting just.
You really, to me, you really actually paid a lot of attention to like what you were doing with this. This is an excellent piece.
Yeah, it was that was a labor of love for sure. Like the golds on it were kind of, I don't want to say easy, but I was able to batch it up pretty well. Like I went with my Citadel golds, and I'm a big fan of using snakebite leather in those recesses of it. And then what you can also do is you can just like stretch that up to those golds, and then once you get there, leave it alone, and then you go with another brighter gold and you work it back down. So like you're just kind of meeting the mid-tone.
Yeah. Since you uploaded something new today, since my gal loves squigs, let's talk about this guy.
Yeah, so my Squig Hog Riders, the guy, one of the people that I game with, gave them to me for Christmas. He actually used to be my high school English teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so those guys,
the go on the back with the rocket squig.
Yeah, what an incredible kit, dude! Like, I got this stuff that fills cracks
Mm-hmm.
It's a Vallejo plastic putty.
Okay.
I was gonna use it between like the head of the squig and the body, but I was a little concerned that it was just like too malleable, like that one right there. Like you see that hard line like right behind his ear. I was a little concerned that if I use this stuff, it would kind of be a little too workable. But no, that was just a bunch of different contrast paints for the reds on the squig, and yeah, I mean, there's this guy Mamokin, I think his name is. He's won a couple Golden Demons, and I asked him one day if like, you know, does he use contrast paints, and he's like, yeah, all the time. I'm like, okay, well, if you want something and you use them, then like, okay, I can totally use them too and have fun with it. But yeah, those were fun. But yeah, I sub-assembled them. I painted them all. It was a labor of love for sure. But
yeah, like I'm just like one thing that's hooked me is I mentioned it on your Eldar. I'm just looking at the orc skin, and I like how dynamic you've got the coloring of a skin. The the extreme darks and the extreme highlights. It almost looks like you worked a little bit of blue in there too.
I could have been a dirty brush, to be honest with you. But nah, maybe it's the purple from the cloak. But yeah, it could be dirty. Could be a dirty brush. But yeah, it's just
no. Just so I mean, overall, like all of these, they all look fantastic. I really like how bright and vivid everything is on these models.
Yeah, that's what I like doing.
Also,
sometimes.
I just noticed on this, I like how you changed up the gobo skin versus the orc skin.
Yeah, for sure. Like that was really cool. I used oh man, this is gonna be good. I used Gretchen green from the Citadel paint, and then a Narlock green.
Okay.
The two Citadel foundations. I used a couple of those. Those are still good for me right now. Yeah, those were. I had to. It was just like you get a little monotonous once you go from the. What do we got here? The Caliban green all the way to the Moot green.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, all right, let's make them a little more olive. Like I do love like a good olive color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something that's like kind of timeless with that.
Well, if you want a good olive, Elysian green is great for that.
Oh, Elysian?
Yeah, that's like all my base tops. That's what I use for my base tops. And at the time, I didn't have two thin coats goblinoid green, so my orc and gobo diorama, I had to use like 4 or 5 different colors just to get the same skin effects that I used to get with Dark Angels green, Goblin green, and Bilious green.
Yeah.
But Elysian green was like the mid-tone color, and then I'd highlight it up from there. And it's actually I think that's one of those colors I don't think I can get rid of from Citadel because it's just such a good olive green.
Yeah. No, I'll check that out for sure. Yeah, it'd be really that.
This old boy.
Yeah.
That's a staple. That is a second edition staple right there. The old Bad Moons boss.
Yeah, when I looked it up, I saw a lot of people do the blue with the trim, and initially I was going to do like a black shoulder pad so you can see the flames a little bit more. A lot of it was just, seeing what somebody else did.
Oh, that's good. I like what you did for his war badge. That is so good.
Yeah, man, I do like a little bit of freehand here and there for sure.
Yeah, you nailed it on that. That's really good. I mean, like that. Anybody who views this model, if they don't pick it up and turn it around, they're missing out on something really good.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. But yeah, I was gonna put a decal on, and then I was like, I can have a little. I got another hour before I gotta go to work. Let me just hammer this out real fast. But
famous last words.
So
why were you late, orcs?
Yeah, it was just this. You know that song called Bad Moon, but like. What I do like about being able to like post stuff on Instagram and whatnot, especially that I'm away from the desk, is I could look at this photo and be like, okay, let me pick this apart a little bit, just as it's a competition. So like, what are you missing? What'd you see? So like, if you look at that, our right side, that tassel, my gradient on that is I can't really zoom in on this too much, but that gradient up there is a lot better than the one on the other side. Mm-hmm. So when I went through this morning, I'm like, if I see that, let me try to introduce that everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of like, okay, now that you haven't looked at it for a while, what do you see now? And,
there's one thing that really stands out about this to me is like, I really, really like how you work the browns into the yellows.
Yeah.
That's a really neat effect. I'm included in this. Most people, we go orange with it, but seeing when people actually work browns into yellows and what you've done, the extreme contrast between the yellow and the darker browns, when it's done correctly, and you've absolutely nailed it on this, it looks so good.
Yeah, well, a lot of that had to do with we were talking about before with what I saw that guy do with the pink before he painted it yellow.
Uh-huh.
So we were talking about how much deeper that, when you told me that you wow, I'm jumbling, but you created better distance between the two colors, and you can get those recesses darker.
Yeah.
And so, when I go out and do that, and I try to get the highlights with more yellow, and I'll jumble up on something and hit something one way or another, whether it be a rivet or a crease.
Yeah.
It's just, here's more shade. Throw some Agrax in there.
Well, and there's I think there's one thing like a lot of Newhammer folks don't realize is like these Oldhammer models, like, I actually painted one of these guys. I don't remember what happened to him, but like these old orcs, especially orcs in power armor, the sculpting on them, you just kind of had to wing it. Like like his gun is just like, it's a mishmash of somewhat finished ideas, but you just kind of had to get creative. And seeing painters like you who tackle something like this and then just absolutely pull it off perfectly. It's just sometimes you got to go screw it and just go head first and be like, oh, I think it's that quote from the Rocky movie: "If he dies, he dies."
Yeah, pretty much. But
it's kind of like a trial by fire.
Yeah, but I'm very flattered. I appreciate that. But yeah, when you get to a gun like that, you're like, so what's supposed to be silver?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like nuts.
So I think I think it's just it's getting long, and I'm trying to keep this. I want to like keep this around an hour and a half to an hour, almost 2 hours. So I'm going to jump back into a new segment in the show. With all that we've talked about and whatnot, you've brought up a few things. This is the new shout out section. So is there anybody you want to do shout outs to?
Pretty much any of my friends that listened, any of my family that listened.
Are there any like Instagram painters or particular brands you want to give shout out to?
Ooh, like no.
Okay.
Geez, I don't know. No. Just everybody, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody. Thank you. Like,
oh, you're absolutely welcome, dude. I'm glad to have you on here. It's been, since starting this, it's a lot of fun to actually reach out and just talk to other painters and just have fun with you guys.
Yeah, it is fun. Like I like talking about this. Like, yeah. I got friends that don't have an interest in it, and they're like, oh, well, I'm looking for a new show. I'm like, well, there's this really cool show about like this internal strife, and I'm talking about like Angels of Death, and they're Warhammer Reese. I'm like, might be. And they're not about it, but it's whatever. But it's a happy place for me. Okay.
Well, cool. So I'm going to shut the show down for the night. So thank you very much, Moe Hammer, for coming on the show. And I'm going to go to the ending screen. So thank you for coming on the show. And if you guys want to check out any of my other videos, here's a couple of things I've done. And until then, I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Thank you for tuning in.